Hill. Long pass. It lands at the 20. No runners there. Zeros on the clock. It's over. The Chiefs have won. The Chiefs have won Super Bowl 57.
Every primetime game.
Whatever it takes.
All season long.
The only thing matters is a win. That's it.
The road to Super Bowl 58 is on Westwood One.
Let's go, man.
Now it's...
But at the end of the day, there's not enough money to build my alma mater. They got a world-class, just built this new nice lacrosse facility. Guess what? No more new lacrosse facilities. And the Title IX aspect of this with the NCAA proposal last week, they're saying 50%. If you spend $1 million on football, you have to spend $1 million on women's athletics. That doesn't work. That doesn't work.
I'm going to guess that Brent Pry takes his coffee black.
I think he throws a cream and a sugar in there.
All right, Coach. Commonwealth Cup victory was in the coffee. What else was in the coffee?
One equal. That's it. That's been about 20 years. I'm one of those guys, I'll do a couple regulars, then I'll do a half calf, then I'll do a decaf with some honey in it. When you drink it all day long, you can't stay on that leaded, man.
ACC Radio, Channel 371. With your friends or grinding on your own, build the SkyTrack setup that fits your space. SkyTrack's holiday sale will blow your mind. Visit SkyTrackGolf.com to save $1,000 off the new SkyTrack Plus Golf Simulator Studio Package or $300 off the new SkyTrack Plus Launch Monitor. Play golf anywhere, anytime at SkyTrackGolf.com. Visit us today and save big.
I'm veterinarian Dr. Marty Goldstein. You don't want your dog eating any of that. These potentially harmful ingredients are found in many of today's popular dog foods, but not in Nature's Blend, a freeze-dried raw dog food with real cuts of meat, omega-3 rich seeds, and superfood veggies and fruit.
Nature's Blend is designed to help support your dog's playfulness, healthy skin, soft coat, easy digestion, and youthful mobility.
Your dog will go bonkers over Nature's Blend savory flavor and texture.
For a limited time, save up to 54% off Nature's Blend and receive a free festive holiday dog sweater with select orders. Go to drmartypets.com/WAG or text WAG to 511-511. Text WAG to 511-511 today.
I guarantee it with a 100% 90-day return of your purchase price.
Offer available while supplies last. Tax fees may apply.
Sirius XM College Sports Radio, Channel 84.
If you've been thinking about buying a home, you need to be in the zone, the home buying zone. You need a game plan to win in this great real estate market. The Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage has all your bases covered. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, purchasing your dream home, refinancing, consolidating debt, or even considering a reverse mortgage, contact the Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage today. They have the lowest closing costs and they'll close your loan on time, guaranteed, or they'll pay your first mortgage payment. And they even have a 3.5% purchase down payment grant that can get you into a home with little money out of your pocket. It doesn't get more clutch than that, folks. Score big on the biggest purchase of your life. Call Equity Zone Mortgage today at 1-800-772-8624. That's 1-800-772-8624. Or apply online at EquityZoneMortgage.com and tell them Big C sent you as heard on the Big C Sports Podcast. License number 0181486. There you go now. I think everything. Oh, that's it. There you go now. I think everything. Oh, that's it.
Bravo Deportes, bonjour, vidi vidi vici, bienvenido, let's get ready to rumble. Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to me and people who love the universe. What a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day in the neighborhood. Won't you be my neighbor? Shut up! It's 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, as I've said many times, I was nominated to be the neighborhood spokesperson. But some people you just can't please. I like to welcome people at 3 o'clock in the morning where I know everybody should be home. Some people don't appreciate it, but you don't have to wait until 3 o'clock in the morning. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 29 podcast applications all over the universe. And I love to say it that way because it's the truth. Some people don't appreciate when you're trying to bring the neighborhood together. All they want to do is criticize. That's not right to criticize people who are trying to do the right thing. So I'm always going to try to do the right thing. But you can't please everybody. I should have known that going in. But you can follow Big C Sports Podcast on 29 podcast platforms on Google. Give me some praise from Google, Alexa, Spotify, Speaker Podcast, Apple Podcast, Good Podcast, TuneIn Podcast, Amazon Podcast, iHeartRadio Podcast, Castbox Podcast, Deezer Podcast, Podcast Addict, Podchaser. You can also follow Gio Savan out of London, England, as well as India and Africa. You can also follow Big C Sports on Podtail, YouTube, Hubhopper, Stitcher Podcast, Radio Line, Repod Podcast, Luminary Podcast, Listen Notes, Podcast Wise, Podbean, Verbal Podcast, Podcast Policy, Podcast in Public, and there's one called AllFeeds.ai. Get that some praise. The robots are trying to take over. But you can also follow Big C Sports Podcast streaming OTT on 4 TV platforms: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. And I appreciate that. I love saying so many things that I do in Big C Sports Podcast. You don't have to have your children leave the house or turn off the sound. You know, sometimes you're watching a movie and something comes on that says this is not suitable for children. You never have to do that with Big C Sports. It's all suitable for children. I want to say what's suitable for children is understanding we have a Veterans Crisis Hotline. They really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. When you think about it, a lot of times people, especially through the holidays, it's a tough time when they say it's the most wonderful time of the year. And some people, it sounds like this: it's the most wonderful time of the year. There'll be credit cards being charged up and people despair. I don't care. It's the most wonderful time of the year. And we're celebrating not the birth of Christ, but the birth of a credit card debt. And that's a shame. But I want to tell you, if you caught up in that and you don't understand the real meaning of Christmas, we have a Veterans Crisis Hotline. It's not just for veterans. They have experience helping veterans and their loved ones get help. You know, anybody going through issues, and Christmas time brings on a lot of stress to buy things that you may not have the money for if you didn't have a credit card, and it causes a lot of people to go into depression because they don't have the money to not only take care of themselves but other people who may not even say I love you. If that makes sense to you, 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255, or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And when you do, you want to give us some praise because we all need somebody to lean on. I know I do. It's nice when somebody's leaning back. I want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, God said, reparations now, reparations forever. And then he said, let there be light. And light came. I love doing with Big C Sports Podcast. Something that's so important to me. Number one, I produce the show. Number two, I direct the topics. Number three, I broadcast all the shows. Number four, I do all the sound effects based on the platform provided by the agents. We could all use more laughter in our lives. And then number five, the commercials are done. Number six, the stats are provided. Number seven, I do the storytelling. Number eight, I do the play-by-play. Number nine, I do the uploading of the show to 29 podcast platforms. And number 10, I never miss a show since creating Big C Sports with the crew. Back in the days of Salem Media. That's so important to me. There are things that I want to talk about as we stand up for the kickoff. Touchdown! Home run! Three-point play! Oh, man, Willie! He's going all the way. My show's always a little bit different. especially what I've been privy to understand lately. What did Johnny Cash say? He said, "What have you done for me lately?" That's not Johnny Cash, Curry. That's Janet Jackson. Okay, well, both names start with J, so sometimes I mess up. But the point is, what have you done for me lately? What have you done for me lately? I want to thank I want to thank Congress. I want to thank our sports league, because sports is a $1 billion industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this $1 billion industry. And I believe that our great athletes and entertainers are going to join hands with Congress and the President of the United States. Why are they going to join hands, Curry? Because they're going to start reparations now. Reparations forever. Okay, that's a phrase. I already see symbols when NFL Monday Night Football has end racism on the back of end zones, and I think it goes by a lot of people's heads. You ever have something to go over your head? You don't quite see it, even though it's in front of you. What do they say? You can't see the forest. You can't see the forest for the trees. Sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees. But I believe good people want to do the right thing. You want to do the right thing. And I believe a lot of good people want to do the right thing. I want to thank people for doing the right thing. Oh my goodness, I had an epiphany. I was having coffee this morning with a colleague, and I actually spilled some coffee, and I was cleaning it up. And so there was a lady that I said, "Excuse me, man, I spilled a little bit of coffee and I want to clean it up." And she said, "Oh, okay, it's good to clean up after yourself." And she was just being silly. So was I. And I said, "You know anyone looking to buy or sell a house or need a loan? I want to give you my card." And she said, "Oh, wonderful." And I said, "I'm also with the National Black Wall Street Project. We're going to make sure that reparations are passed." She said, "Oh, really? I have a friend." I don't think it's going to hurt to tell this story. I have a friend of mine. I'm doing some work with her. Her name is Shell Grills. And it says Shell Grills. That name rings a bell. And I said, "Well, let me show you what I'm doing with the reparations." She said, "What are you doing with the reparations?" And I showed her this flyer that I have. And I showed her Dr. Shell Grills. She said, "Yeah, that's her." Now, how did God line that up when it comes to reparations? This lady is African American also. And she said, "Well, tell me more about reparations." I said, "Just Google it. It's all over the place. You won't hear much of it on local news, but it's there." Now, how did I have the chance to spill coffee next to a lady who knows someone on the task force, and then give her my card, National Black Wall Street Project, as co-chair Northern California chapter, and we had that conversation. It's like 6 degrees of separation. Supposedly we're all connected by 6 people. But I told her I have a sports show called Big C Sports, and I showed her where CBS News and NBC News and the Associated Press, they did an article on Big C Sports and reparations. That's important to me. And she said, "Yeah, a lot of people don't even understand this about to happen." I said, "I know. But you know what they do know? Touchdown! Home run! 3-point play! Oh, man, Willie! He's going all the way." They know that because it's on television all the time. I want to and that's a random person that I met at a coffee shop, and I spilled some coffee, and we started a conversation, and I asked her, did she know anyone looking to buy or sell a house or needs a loan? And also, I'm with the co-chair of the National Black Wall Street Project, Northern California, a chapter in Northern California. And it was just amazing how that happened. So people know about it, but oftentimes it's not televised enough. I want to televise my part today as I thank the California Reparations Task Force. Number 1, the chair, Camila Moore. She's brilliant. I'm going to give her praise. She's an attorney that specializes in reparative justice. I want to thank Dr. Amy C. Brown, vice chair, brilliant. And I've had conversations with all of them. I want to give praise to the number 1 senator of the United States of America, California Senator Stephen Bradford, because he's brilliant. Also had conversations with him. He's also responsible for name, image, and likeness. I want to give him praise. We all deserve to have great things happen in our lives, and how God oftentimes will bring us into contact with people who can open doors on a level that's much bigger than just ourselves. I know we love sports. No one loves it as much as I do. But I know if this were about what a lot of people hear on the weekends, what team's going to play who, what the point spread is, there are people who actually play fantasy sports, and they have a fantasy sports group that they join, and they wager some money to see if they can make money. And there's nothing wrong with that as long as you adults don't know 800 gamblers exist. But Senator Stephen Bradford, he helped author a bill called Name, Image, and Likeness. It's called NIL. It allows college kids to get paid on their name, image, and likeness. And some universities don't like it because they say, we've been stealing money for years. And then what the late Bear Bryant said when he coached Alabama back in the day when they played at USC and lost, he said, I got to get me some of them. You know, black kids. The Alabama was segregated football team. I know they're playing for the national championship playoffs right now. They're going to play Michigan in the Rose Bowl. And ironically, John McKay was the coach at USC when he played Bear Bryant's Alabama Crimson Tide. I think USC won, I think it was 42-21 or something like that, somewhere along the line. And he said, I got to get me some of them. Some of these, some of them. He meant black kids. And because those universities make money off of black bodies. Oh, we give them a scholarship? How many graduate? How many have an opportunity to go from playing football to being recruited by a company to make a good income? Not a lot. And so it's important for me to say that Senator Stephen Bradford, he's the one that saw the problem there. And he made sure that these young men could get paid, not just exploited. And so many universities are up in the air. They don't like trying to share that money that they used to suck like a bee sucking on honey. They suck like a bee sucking on honey! And now they got to share. It's not like the money comes out of the school's coffers. But when athletes realize they can make between $500,000 to $1 million on their name, image, and likeness, is oftentimes they want to change out of their scholarship and go to a different school. That gives them more exposure. And when you think about that, you got to realize Jalen Daniels just won the Heisman Trophy, quarterback for LSU. He started at Arizona State University in the Pac-12. Now, again, in the Pac-12, he was just a random quarterback. But he went to LSU where they don't see great passing games, and he became a Heisman Trophy winner. In the Pac-12 at Arizona State, he was not up for the Heisman, but he went to LSU where they don't know how to stop the pass in the SEC conference. A lot of those teams are run heavy. At the same time, he can make money on his name, image, and likeness. When the pass, he could not. In fact, had he taken a steak dinner, he could have lost his scholarship. Who set that up, Rube? Well, who set that up, Curry? The good old boys set it up. They didn't want you coming in there and upsetting the apple cart, making money on your name, image, and likeness. They wanted to make money in your name, image, and likeness. And so now there's so much talk about college football. And is it right to let kids have a choice, what they call freedom of choice? They're trying to say, if you sign a contract, you got to stick with it. Unless you're a coach, and Jimbo Fisher can go from coaching a university to Texas A&M and they pay him $75 million. He signed a contract where he came from. He was at Florida State. And now Texas A&M got rid of him because he didn't deliver what they thought he'd deliver. They bought him out. No one complained that he got $75 million. $75 million. Senator Stephen Bradford, he's also part of the California Reparations Task Force. He sees the injustice. He saw it, and now kids can make money. There's over 1,100 kids in the transfer portal, and they have the same options that their white coaches, for the most part, have. They can go from university to university, and they can get paid on the name and the likeness. And some colleges don't like that. They're not used to tolerating people having power other than them in that good old oligarchy called the Good Old Boy Network. But Senator Stephen Bradford made it possible for people to prosper from that, black and white students. And he also helped sponsor the Ebony Alert, which helped young black kids get the same amount of resources that white kids get with the Amber Alert. He did that. And he's also in the Reparations Task Force. I want to give him praise. That's why I say he's the number one senator in the United States. He's not just a linear thinker focusing only on what he's going to do for himself or his constituents. He's done something that stretches nationwide. And no one even gives him credit for it. But Big C does. And I told him that. He said, I'm glad you noticed that. And I said, yes, can I get a picture with you? He said, yes. And I said, I'd love to interview someday on my sports show. He said, give me a call. And so we have a meeting, we have an interview set up with him with National Black Wall Street Project, Big C Sports. He knows who I am with Big C Sports. Isn't that something? When a senator, the number one senator in the United States of America, he knows about Big C Sports, you got to give that some praise. He didn't talk about some of the other guys shucking and driving and refusing to even have a conversation about reparations. I'm talking about other black men. You know, something that the great-granddaddies and great-great-grandmothers were due. And they were robbed. And here is Senator Stephen Bradford, knowing who Big C Sports is. I love giving them praise. I want to also give praise to Councilmember Monica Montgomery Stephanie. She's brilliant. Love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Assembly Member Reginald Jones Sawyer. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Shell Grizz. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. Met somebody who knew her today at a coffee shop. I want to give praise to her attorney, Lisa Holder. She's brilliant. Love giving her praise. Have a conversation with her. I want to give praise to Dr. Javon Scott Lewis. He's brilliant. He's also a professor at California, Berkeley. I love giving him praise. I want to give praise to Attorney Donald K. Kamaki. He's brilliant. Part of the California Reparations Task Force. I love giving him praise because a mind is a terrible thing to waste. So people got to know that reparations is right there, and it's right there for us to happen. Just like we stand up for the kickoff. I want to thank this is CNN, proud sponsors of Big C Sports. Give them some praise. I want to thank PNC Private Bank, proud sponsors of Big C Sports. I love giving that praise. I want to thank Double O, part of the PI Committee for the National Black Wall Street Project. She sent me Executive Order 13985 on further advancing racial equity and support for underserved communities through the federal government. That's the White House. She said that to me. I love giving her praise. I want to thank also Senator Marco Rubio and Senator Rick Scott of Florida. They reintroduced the Holocaust survivors' right to Congress to make sure that the bill to restore Holocaust survivors' rights is in good standing with Congress. You got to give them praise. They just need to add descendants of chattel slavery. I want to thank Georgetown University because they already have pledged over $1 billion to 272 families that are descendants of chattel slavery. I love giving them praise. I also want to thank Double O, National PI Committee for the National Black Wall Street Project. She sent me this article from the United Nations. It says strong leadership and political will are crucial to ensure reparatory justice for people of African descent. You got to give that some praise. Give it praise, praise, praise. I want to thank T-Mobile, proud sponsors of Big C Sports Podcast, America's largest 5G network. You got to give that some praise. And being sponsor of Big C Sports. And as well as I want to thank PNC Private Bank, proud sponsors of Big C Sports. I want $6 billion. Life is funny. I want to get into some things, and I never really have enough time, but I want to thank President Joe Biden for realizing the key to re-election is to do what the New England Patriots and the Seattle Seahawks in the Super Bowl about 10 years ago. Up to the line of scrimmage was Russell Wilson. Goal line stands by the New England Patriots. Beast mode in the backfield. The snap, he throws over the middle, and it's intercepted! Intercepted by Michael Gladwell! What the world are you doing? All they had to do was turn around and hand the ball to the most dominant running back in the NFL. And that was Marshawn Lynch. And they chose not to. Well, Joe Biden's in the same situation. In order to be reelected, all he has to do is sign reparations. Reparations now! Reparations forever! That voting bloc that helped President Joe Biden get elected, they're waiting to see is he going to sign reparations before the election. You can't say I'm going to do it after the election, because that'll be another Al Gore moment. What? I didn't win, but I thought I had the black vote. I told them what I was going to do. What did Johnny Cash say? What have you done for me lately? That's not Johnny Cash, Curry. That's Janet Jackson. Okay, but you understand it's the same point. What have you done for me lately? What are you going to do for me now? Do it now. He can sign it now. He doesn't have to wait. We don't have to have more task force. Senator Marco Rubio and Senator Rick Scott, they didn't ask for a task force to make sure that we had Holocaust survivors' rights reinstated in Congress. They just went to Congress and they said, do it now. We did the same thing for defenders of child slavery. I want to cover some things today. I'm going to get into NFL too. We got some games that are happening now. But those sports leagues, they're tacitly saying, yes, we support reparations. Look at the end zones for NFL football games. It says end racism. How do you do it? You pass reparations. We petition the White House to do it. You can't say you don't believe in reparations when I finish with today's program. You can't. I'll not tolerate it. You won't be able to say we don't believe in reparations. Not after you hear today's show. Freedmen's Bank, Google it. Chartered by the United States Congress, March 1865. Every NFL football team and every NBA basketball team and every Major League Baseball team, they understand they get their money from banks, investments, unless they were born into the money. Well, Freedmen's Bank, established in 1865 for African Americans once the Civil War was over, to make sure we had a place to put our money in banks. Because when you think about it, African Americans, that money was robbed. The bank's failure not only robbed many African Americans of their entire savings, but also had a severe psychological impact, causing many to give up hopes and dreams that America was going to treat us fair. It's so important. I know you want to stand up with a kickoff, but there'll be no stand up with kickoffs if these stadiums and sports leagues are not funded. So the need for a bank for freed blacks became evident during the American Civil War. The African American soldiers in the Union Army were often denied access to conventional banks. After President Abraham Lincoln said, "You help the Union win the Civil War, and I'll grant you freedom through the Emancipation Proclamation." And not one president, after Lincoln was assassinated, not one president made his promise good. Freedmen's Bank had a board of 50 white trustees. They were named to manage the bank's affairs. And they stole the money! All of it! And Congress never gave it back. Even though Congress said this. It's so important to understand it. The bank's assets were not protected by the federal government. Why not, Congress? And Congress refused to reimburse depositors. Some kept fighting and they got the money back. Sometimes you got to petition Congress more than once. But you say, well, how do we determine where black Americans get reparations, Curry? Although collapse of the Freedmen's Bank was devastating to thousands of African Americans, the records left behind by the bank have proved an invaluable source for genealogists. The records are the largest single source of lineage-linked African American records known to exist. They know who should have gotten that money. They knew it. And that's why reparations is going to pass before the next election. And people just got to know that. So I got so much to do, it's hard to get all of it in today. But I'm just going to talk at the top of my mind. Obviously, NFL football got some games tonight. Why the NFL has 2 Monday night games makes no sense to me. Well, yes, it does, Curry, because they want you to show me the money. What did 2 Live Crew say in his last big concert? He said, "Show me the money." That wasn't 2 Live Crew, Curry. That was Jerry Maguire. Okay, but they said, "Show me the money." Same thing. You know, some people always want to criticize if you get the name wrong. Tonight, the Green Bay Packers and the New York Giants and the Tennessee Titans and the Miami Dolphins for NFL football. If that makes sense to you, there'd be no NFL football without banks giving money to these NFL football owners. The Dolphins host the Titans, and the Giants, they play the Green Bay Packers. Now, the Titans at the Dolphins is a 13.5-point favorite for the Dolphins. The over-under is 46.5. And do you expect the Titans to keep this one close? I don't think so. You see how explosive Miami's offense is, making this, to me, and I won't say easy bet because Vegas likes to go against the current sometimes. If they see all the money pouring one way, they're going to keep their money somehow. That 13.5-point favorite, I think they're going to cover it, though. I just feel that they're going to, and they're going to blow the Titans out of the water. What does Las Vegas think, Curry? Miami has excelled this season when expected to handle an inferior team. They are 7-1 against the spread as a favorite this season. Think about that. I don't think they have a chance in Tennessee to maintain pace with this team. I just don't see that. In fact, I have my Dolphins in the AFC Championship game with the Baltimore Ravens. That's my story so far, and I'm sticking with it. At the same time, I think the Dolphins cover the spread easily tonight. The Green Bay Packers, they are a 6-point favorite over the New York Giants at New York. The over-under is 36.5. Green Bay's been playing good football lately. If you're buying Jordan Love in his improvement, you got to look at this game and realize that Green Bay, not only did they knock off the Kansas City Chiefs, this is a team that knocked off, they knocked off that dust on their shoulder, what do they call that guy on the shoulder, the doubter on the shoulder when the touchdown Aaron Rodgers left. They thought it's a rebuilding year for Green Bay. Well, if they get this win tonight, it's not a rebuilding year. They're on course to at least try to snip the playoffs again. They didn't make the playoffs last year under touchdown Aaron Rodgers. So even if they miss it this year, it's no worse than what they had when Aaron Rodgers was there. I think Jordan Love is going to be a fine quarterback. But I got to give you this thoughts also with the Green Bay Packers and the New York Giants. What does Las Vegas think, Curry? The New York Giants ranked 27th in covering wide receivers. The first number one receiver. And they allow them 87 receiving yards per game. With Christian Watson out for the Packers, that puts Romeo Doubs in the spotlight. I think when you look at this team like Green Bay, the Packers passing game this season, they put up about 42 yards per receiver per game. Each of the last 4 games, Reed has at least 5 targets, and he's also accumulated 180 receiving yards. Watson already has been ruled out for this game, so more talk is going to go around the different players. I think Jordan Love, that good boy, is doing what you expect him to do. He's not losing games, and I think not only does Green Bay win in New York, but I think they cover. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I wanna you can give that some praise. Give it praise. But why the NFL is playing 2 nights of football? It's called Powernomics, Dr. Clyde Anderson. And people should read Powernomics.com. He has a series of 5 books that are must read for about $99. All 5 books, the library plaque plus a free DVD. It's inspirational and educational by Dr. Clyde Anderson. So that's something to add for your Christmas list. Shohei Ohtani, he already got his reparations. Shohei Ohtani, and I was saying last year he would do better in a Dodger uniform. Shohei Ohtani ranks among the biggest contracts in North American sports history. He left the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, the 2-time American League MVP. Shohei Ohtani is a superstar, and he's a super megastar now. Not only is one of the best players in Major League Baseball, he's one of the most marketable athletes of all time. Where he goes, the money follows. With all that in mind, it was clear that Shohei Ohtani was on track to set a new standard in Major League Baseball free agent markets, just as his teammate Mark Trite did a few years ago. But when you think about the contract, this good old boy, he got his reparations. He wound up signing a $700 million contract with the LA Dodgers. He's a 2-way star. He announced on Instagram Saturday. $700 million over 10 years is a lot of money, $70 million a year, to play baseball. What do you pay for a true 2-way player who can knock the cover off the baseball and then get people on the mound and strike them out? $700 million over 10 years. That's not including any TV commercials you're going to do for other whatever libations he's going to promote. So I want to give him praise for getting that money, and I'm going to lead that into reparations. Reparations now! Reparations forever! Because if we can get it, Congress should make it possible for all black Americans descendants of chattel slavery to get it too. I'm going to just touch NFL football has been great. There's so many great games that are in play for NFL football, especially with the 49ers knocking off the Seattle Seahawks again. Dallas, what a game they had in beating Philadelphia. Really impressed with that. The Kansas City game with the good old boys from Buffalo. You gotta blame the receiver. You gotta blame the receiver or the referees. I mean, Patrick Mahomes lost his mind a little bit. If your receiver doesn't ask the officials if he's offsides, that's not the official's fault. You got to know. That's why they always look to the sideline, ask the official, am I okay? They say yes or no. So that's my point with that. People got to know that. But I thought Patrick Mahomes was a little bit emotional after the game. But if you're playing NBA basketball and you step out of bounds, you can't say I didn't mean to step out of bounds. You should have told me I was stepping out of bounds. The ball goes over in possession to the next team, to the other team. Same thing. I don't blame the officials for what they did. They enforced the rules. That's my story. Cutting men's teams in Title IX. Where does the money go? Title IX of the Educational Amendments of 1972 is the landmark legislation that passed to provide equal educational opportunities for women in many areas, including athletics. Think about what happened with that. It has fostered the growth of women's collegiate athletic teams. The legislation is often blamed. When men's sports are cut between 1990 and 2020, NCAA Division I women's teams grew by 60%, while the overall number of Division I men's teams, it decreased. Now, when a men's team is cut, the announcement is in a public forum. It is not the best interest of the athletic director to admit that the budget resources will be reallocated to men's basketball, football, or capital projects associated with men's basketball or football. But it's more advantageous to acknowledge that women's sports ought not to be cut, and in fact must be increased to remain compliant with Title IX. Now, what does that mean? It means this. Title IX compliance with respect to athletics in terms of three broad areas. Number one, athletic financial assistance. That's a good thing. Number two, other program areas. That's a good thing. And number three, accommodation of interest and abilities. Compliance with Title IX often requires colleges and universities to sponsor additional women's athletics teams, yet does not require dollar-for-dollar spending. And you got to realize a lot of these programs, if you bring in money, you're going to prosper. But not necessarily the case. If you have sports that don't bring in money, and they're sucking off the sports that bring in money, that's what Title IX was created for. It may not always seem fair, but it does. Well, why do you bring that up, Curry? It was not fair. Well, I'm going to bring it up because I told you about reparations. Some colleges, they argued that Title IX was hurting their overall athletic programs. And I believe that equality for the men and the women, it should exist. But some people complain, why are the men's teams having to suffer or pay for the women's sports teams? That's part of doing business, so you can't discriminate. Well, I have another theory. Because these universities, they should be championing reparations now, reparations forever. They should champion reparations. They should, because it's so important. As we get closer to reparations, the same way we stand up for the kickoff, Big C Sports wants to be a vanguard in talking about this movement. AB 3121, Google it. What's it got to do with sports, Curry? Because reparations will stimulate the economy. You talk about black Americans being recruited out of neighborhoods to come to universities to make the university money. Well, when reparations happen, people will have a chance to invest their money and do what they could not do with Freedmen's Bank, set up by Congress. If you're a black American, you could put your money in, but you could not make loans. You could not even get a loan. That money was invested by white people. So when you look at AB 3121, Section 1, Chapter 4.5, commencing with Section 8301, it added Division 1 of Title 2 to the Government Code to read Chapter 4.5, reparations for the institution of slavery. What's that got to do with college sports in Title 9, Curry? I just told you if you listen. The legislative makes the following findings and declarations. More than 4 million Africans and their descendants were enslaved in the United States and the colonies that became the United States from 1619 to 1865. Many of the athletes today, black Americans that make up Division I college football programs and college basketball programs, they come out of that system of chattel slavery. I think 80% of the NBA is African American. They come out of that system of chattel slavery. 75% of the NFL is African American. They come out of that system of chattel slavery. When you watch NCAA college basketball, one shining moment, you reach for the stars. One shining moment. I can't help but to sing it. I couldn't hit that high note. But it's $1 billion month for the NCAA. $1 billion. And now the white people who are fighting over that $1 billion, they did it on black bodies. So what does reparations do? And why no one should argue against it? The institution of slavery was constitutionally and statutorily sanctioned by the United States of America from 1619 to 1865. The slavery that flourished in the United States constituted an immoral and inhumane deprivation of Africans, what they call African Americans now, life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, and African citizenship rights and cultural heritage, and denied them the fruits of their labor. What was college sports doing before California Senator Stephen Bradford helped create name, image, and likeness, get that bill passed? They were keeping all the money. The white people were keeping all the money. All of it! Okay, 99% of it. Why reparations necessary that colleges get behind this push? Especially you black athletes. A preponderance of scholarly, legal, and community evidentiary documentation, as well as popular culture makers, it constitutes the basis for inquiry into the ongoing effects of the institution of slavery and its legacy of persistent systemic structures of discrimination on living African Americans and society in the United States. Well, I thought we were talking about name, image, and likeness. The same reason some of these universities are upset that Senator Stephen Bradford from California, who's going to be interviewed by Big C, they're upset that he created such a powerful tool to help people get paid on their labor. Because before that, only white people were keeping that money. Following the abolition of slavery. This is why college athletes and universities should be pro-reparations and get President Biden to understand that no reparations, no vote. The following abolition of slavery, the United States government at the federal, state, and local levels continued to perpetuate, condone, and often profit from practices that continue to brutalize and disadvantage African Americans, including sharecropping, convict leasing, Jim Crow laws, redlining, unequal education, and disproportionate treatment at the hands of the criminal justice system. What's that got to do with Title IX, Curry? Because black bodies, just like women, oftentimes were not able to profit for their efforts. Only the white oligarchy were. And people know that. Not all white people, but the ones in power that were white. And they're the ones that push back on Title IX to help women get equal opportunity. And they also push back on NIL to help athletes get paid, mostly African Americans. Watch NCAA March Madness as we get into that. But right now, watch college football playoffs. I have Michigan in the Rose Bowl versus Alabama, mostly all black players. We have Texas and Washington in the Sugar Bowl, mostly all black players. They get paid now on the name, image, and likeness, the ones that are good enough. That's because of a black man by the name of California Senator Stephen Bradford. And what's this have to do with reparations? What's it got to do with reparations, Curry? I'm going to tell you what it has. I've been telling you. Listen up as you stand up for the kickoff. As a result of the historic and continued discrimination, African Americans continue to suffer debilitating economic, educational, and health hardships, including but not limited to all the following. Listen up, NFL, NBA players. I know you signed the contract. I know you got big money. But what about the people that you came from that did not get the contract with the Dallas Cowboys or the San Francisco 49ers or the Golden State Warriors or the Philadelphia 76ers or the New York Football Giants? An unemployment rate more than twice that of current white unemployment rate. What? Yeah, that by design. Having nearly 1 million black people incarcerated by white judges. That ring a bell to you? Slavery? An average of less than 1/16 of the wealth of white families, a disparity that has worsened, not improved over time. I just told you the Emancipation Proclamation, that money was offered, that 40 acres of the mule, that was offered to black people. When President Lincoln was assassinated, President Andrew Johnson came along and he vetoed the bill. And he gave that land back to the segregationists, the white separatists, the Southern Confederates, and they never gave it back. And when the Freedmen Bank fell, that was 50 white trustees that stole the money. And now Congress has a chance to do right by it. It's the purpose of this information to establish a task force that would do all the following. I've been telling you as I give praise to the California Reparations Task Force, I'm the only sports show in the universe that does it. They won't do it with reparations fast, but I'm doing it now. And these task forces were to study and develop reparations proposals for African Americans as a result of, number one, the institution of slavery, including both the transatlantic and the domestic trade that existed from 1565 in colonial Florida from 1619 to 1865, inclusive within the other colonies that became the United States of America. And that included the federal and state governments that constitutionally and statutorily supported the institution of slavery. Just like a lot of Caucasians, they're anti-NIL. They're trying to tear it down now. They're even trying to say, well, we want to make sure if you sign a contract with these universities, you can't leave. You can't leave if you're young, gifted, and black. They're not saying that for white kids. They often have a job waiting for them when they get out of college. I just told you the wealth gap is 1/16 black and white. There's a $14 trillion set aside that was there to pay out to African Americans, freed slaves. And President Obama used some of that money, and President Trump used some of that money. President Biden's also used some of that money, but it hasn't gone to black folks. No reparations, no vote. You got to understand that. This is so important. The de jure and de facto discrimination against freed slaves and their descendants from the end of the Civil War, as we stand up for the kickoff and light the beam, light the beam. These pro-sports teams, these white owners that own these pro-sports teams, 1862 to 1863, the Homestead Act gave white people over 276 million acres of land. And even white Europeans, they give black Americans nothing. When you deal with the descendants from the end of the Civil War to the persistent, including economic, political, educational, and social discrimination, the lingering negative effects of the institution of slavery, and the discrimination described on living African Americans and on society in California and the United States. The manner in which instructional resources and technologies are being used to deny inhumanity of slavery and the crime against humanity committed against people of African descent in California and the United States. The role of Northern complicity in the Southern-based institution of slavery, the direct benefits to societal institutions, public and private, including higher education, corporate, religious, and associational. Recommended appropriate ways to educate the California public of the task force findings that Big C spoke about. And what's that got to do with sports, Big C? I just told you earlier, when I spoke at the Reparations Task Force rally, I got a call from the Associated Press. It's Janie Hard. The article was written on March 30th, 2023, but my speech was on March 29th, 2023, on reparations. You can Google it. She spoke about Charlton Curry at Big C Sports, President Joe Biden, California Governor Gavin Newsom, Vice President Kamala Harris. How did I get in that story with those luminaries? I'll tell you, I'm not shucking and jiving. They researched who Big C is before they did the show, before they put it in print. It will never go away. He recommended appropriate remedies in consideration of the task force's findings on the matters described. You got to understand it. Submit to the legislature the report completed pursuant to Section 8301-1, together with any recommendations. Article 2, task force to study and develop reparations proposals for African Americans, with the special considerations for African Americans who are descendants of persons enslaved in the United States. Give that some praise as you stand up for the kickoff. I'm telling you, Big C Sports is not like other programs. This hereby established the task force to study and develop reparations proposals for African Americans, with a special consideration for African Americans who are descendants of persons enslaved in the United States of America, where the land of the free and the home of the brave. Reparations is right around the corner, people. And Big C Sports will be the vanguard podcaster and broadcaster in the universe that will tell you first. You got to get people ready for what happens. They're already pledging between $1 million and $3 million for descendant of chattel slavery in California. California is the fourth largest economy in the world. It's an international obligation. Even the United Nations says that other countries participated in the slave trade, especially England. Lloyd's of London insured the slave ships. But now they got to stand up for the kickoff. You can stand up for the kickoff easier when you got the money in your pocket and in your annuities that will fund what was robbed from our ancestors. You got to give that some praise. I'll finish with this before I touch on why it's so important for our sports leagues to champion reparations. Now, there are some black politicians, African Americans, that have been paid to say, we don't want no reparations. We don't want anything that benefited white people. We don't need the Homestead Act. We don't need the GI Bill. We don't need the Marshall Plan that rebuilt Europe. We don't want none of that stuff. So they pay some black men and women to talk like that too. You'll hear them as it comes out. We don't want none of that money. They'll tell some white politicians, oh, we don't want the white American taxpayer dollar to go up. What happened to the black American tax dollars when we were robbed? That money was set aside. You can understand SB 3121. Google it. Every college will talk about it, especially as you get ready for Christmas shopping. Identify, compile, and synthesize the relevant corpus of evidentiary documentation of the institution of slavery that existed within the United States of America and the colonies that became the United States from 1619 to 1865, inclusive. The task force's recommendations and examinations shall include the facts related to all the following: the capture and procurement of Africans. That's number one. Number two, the transport of Africans to the United States and the colonies that became the United States for the purpose of enslavement, including their treatment during transport. And you'll have some black politicians saying, we don't deserve to get compensated for what happened to our ancestry. That's going to come. You mark my words. Number 3, the sale and acquisition of Africans as chattel property in interstate commerce. How do you think so many white families got wealthy? You think they pulled themselves up by the bootstrap? Or did they benefit from chattel slavery? Number 4, the treatment of African slaves in the colonies and the United States, including the deprivation of their freedom, exploitation of their labor, and destruction of their culture, language, religion, and families. The extensive denial of humanity, sexual abuse, and chattelization of persons. And I'll close with this. The federal and state laws that discriminated against formerly enslaved Africans and their descendants who were deemed United States citizens from 1619 to present. And we still haven't been paid. It's going to happen now. Congress is talking about it. I don't have enough time on every show to talk about what I do with Big C Sports Podcast, but you got to give me some praise for trying, because my work is factual when it comes to sports, and it's factual when it comes to Congress. As we are standing up for the kickoff, Congress right now is considering, do we pay these descendants of chattel slavery, and we've been robbing them all their life from cradle to grave. And they're going to have some black politicians that come out and tell you, well, we don't deserve, we don't even want reparations. Let the white people keep all that money. Because white families that benefited from land that was bequeathed from 1619 to even this decade, where'd that money come from? Land that was stolen. President Lincoln said black Americans get something. 40 acres and a mule. They stole the money from Freedmen's Bank. We had black codes, redlining, all the Jim Crow laws, the civil rights violation. I just talked about so many things. You got to read AB 3121. I know you want to know who's going to win the game. But as this comes into fruition, people need to know a lot of our other sports shows, they keep it dumbed down on touchdown, home run, 3-point play. Oh, man, Willie, he's gone all the way. Light the beam. Light the beam. And Light the Beam doesn't pay black people. But you're about to become wealthy, and Big C Sports is the #1 podcaster in the universe and champion that give that some praise. I love paying homage to my beautiful family legacy. On my mother's side, my great-grandmother, and then my great-grandfather, my beautiful grandmother, my dear grandfather Hezekiah, my great-grandmother Mama and Pop, my grandfather, and then my beautiful mama, the most beautiful mama in the history of the universe. I love giving my mama praise, always saying rise and shine. The best person I ever met in my life. Love my mama with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. On my father's side, my granddaddy, Albert Curry, owned 3 churches, owned 2 gas stations. My grandmother, Alberta Curry, working side by side with my granddaddy with the 2 gas stations and the 3 churches. 8 years old, walking through a hallway, she touched me on my forehead, said, there's something about your voice. I love hearing you speak. My beautiful father, former United States Air Force fighter pilot, chief mechanic, always making sure that planes can fly high so we can all stay safe at night. My beautiful brother Todd with that bombastic voice, always saying, go forward. I really do appreciate and love everything I've learned with Todd. And then my beautiful daughter Daisy, the most beautiful daughter in the history of the universe. College graduate, 2 degrees with honors in 3.5 years. Always trust God, Isaiah 54:17. You can be anything you want to be. She set up the very first interview for Big C Sports. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. My beautiful, handsome son, Malcolm, the most handsome son in the history of the universe. College student, senior, very smart, erudite, a good man. Always trust God, Isaiah 54:17. No weapon formed against you will prosper. Malcolm set up the very first interview for Big C Sports, and also said, Dad, you want to see Big C Sports on TV? I said, sure. He said, pick up the remote, aim it at the TV, you'll see your show come up. That's before it was on the air, and now it's on 4 TV platforms. You're going to become a millionaire, Dad told you over the phone. I told the whole world. People will turn against you also. They're trying to turn against you right now, trying to tell you. I mean, people try to divide black fathers from their children. You know it's true, son. Look at the color of those people who are trying to do that. Just look! And ask God in the Bible where God appreciates that garbage. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then you can be anything you want to be. Big C, with all that, with the knowledge over the years, and the great granddad that coming out of that bone, always saying, you gotta believe, you gotta believe, you gotta believe. Saying, let's get ready to rumble. I love saying, welcome to the show, as nominated at Big C Sports Podcast. But I got a cause for black families and white families. White people have already benefited from all the disadvantages that the government created for black Americans. So I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to Congress, who is mostly white. And they are knowing it's about to atone for the evil that the country did to black Americans. It's okay to do the right thing. And I believe they're going to. But for black Americans, you got to get prepared for this kind of money that comes into your pocket. There are going to be people coming to you asking you to invest in them. Invest in their pipe dream, invest in their project, invest in whatever. And they're going to say, you need to give me some of that money because I bought you an ice cream 10 years ago. You know it's already coming. But in the meantime, they want to tear down black families, especially the fathers. Listen in your ears and look at the person that's been trying to do that to you. What color are they? What color? And ask God, does God approve of that? Because when you become wealthy, those same people are going to try to steal your money. Mark my words. My daddy told me this. Well, as I always tell you, that's my story. I'm thinking with it. If you're going to drink, don't drive. If you're going to drive, don't drink. Because mothers against drunk drivers are mad. And fathers against drunk drivers are mad. It's one of the easiest things not to do. You can call Uber. You can call Lyft. You can walk it off. You can sleep it off. Don't let someone you love get behind the wheel of a car after they've been drinking. The life you save may be your own or someone you love. That's my story. I'm taking with it. Now you know what time it is. I always tell you, back in the day, there's a man known by the name of Jumbo Didi Brown. He's known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, he said, you float like a butterfly. You sting like a bee. Rumble, young man, rumble. With all you got to use, how can you lose? I would say I'm so pretty, I can't possibly be beat. After I listen to Big C Sports, it makes me want to say, reparations now! Reparations forever! That's my story to the with it. As I always tell you on every Big C Sports show, I thank you, I appreciate you, and I hope that you have a super fantastic day. And now, as you stand up for the kickoff, I want to honor President Abraham Lincoln. What did he tell President Joe Biden and Congress to do? He says, sign reparations now! Sign reparations forever. Come on, you gotta say it. And your team just won the game. What did President Abraham Lincoln tell President Joe Biden to do if he wants to get reelected? He says, sign reparations now. Sign reparations forever. Come on, you can say it better than that. Say it like your team has won the championship. What did President Abraham Lincoln tell Congress and President Joe Biden to do if he wants to get reelected? He says, sign reparations now. Sign reparations forever. Well, I thank you. I appreciate you, and I hope that you have a super fantastic day.